picture the literal dirt under your fingernails for a second. It is 1927 in Soviet Russia. You are standing in this freezing, relentless mud.
Right, and you've got absolutely nothing to work with.
Exactly. You have no CGI.
Right.
You barely have consistent electricity, let alone, modern lighting rigs. Cinema itself is still practically an infant.
I mean, half the world still treats moving pictures like a cheap circus trick at this point.
Yeah, and you are working with physical, highly flammable nitrate film stock. Stuff that literally snaps if the temperature drops too low.
It's an absolute nightmare of a production environment.
But despite all of that, right, a director steps into this unforgiving squalor and manages to pull off an unprecedented leap in storytelling.
Well, I don't know about unprecedented.
I am talking about a commissioned, state-ordered mandate that somehow, against all odds, completely shatters its own restrictive boundaries. It becomes this towering, monumental, artistic...
Hold on, are you joking? A monumental leap?
I'm not finished setting the stage.
You're living in a fantasy land, mate. You cannot just throw around phrases like monumental leap for what is, let's be brutally honest here, a glorified, made-to-order propaganda piece.
Oh, come on. That is completely unfair.
It was explicitly demanded for the 10th anniversary of the 1917 revolution. It is literally a state-funded birthday card, bought and paid for by a totalitarian regime.
That is exactly the cynical, painfully reductive way I knew you were going to look at it. You are completely ignoring the mechanical and technical miracles they had to invent on the spot.
I'm not ignoring them. I'm just looking at the actual film without the rose-tinted glasses.
Look, to you listening right now, do not listen to this cynicism. Stick around because this massive brawl we're about to have is going to completely change how you view modern cinema.
Oh, please don't get their hopes up.
I'm serious.
Cinema, the magic vehicle, a comprehensive guide. Journey 1, 1913 to 1950.
Every kinetic action blockbuster you watch today, the way Christopher Nolan edits a climax or the way Paul Greengrass shoots a chaotic fight.
Now you're bringing Christopher Nolan into this? You can't be serious.
Hear me out. The way a Michael Bay movie physically overwhelms your senses. All of that modern visual language owes a staggering debt to Vsevolod Pudovkin's silent 1927 epic, The End of St. Petersburg.
Seriously, if you're listening to this, I am warning you right now. The film is a bit of a shambles in places.
A shambles?
It is. It's a fascinating historical artifact, sure, but dodging the pretentious hype is essential here. The pacing is a mess, and it just stalls out constantly.
We're not starting with the pacing. No chance. We are starting with the narrative structure, because I am not going to let you dismiss this script out of hand just because it was commissioned.
The script is exactly the problem, though.
Nat and Zarki wrote this script, and it is a brilliant piece of structural engineering.
Engineering is for bridges, mate. Scripts are supposed to have, actual humans in them with beating hearts and discernible personality.
It does have humans. Let's actually look at the facts of the plot instead of just waving it away.
Fine. Give us the plot then.
Context for you listening, right? This film is the middle chapter of Pudovkin's legendary screen trilogy. You've got Mother before it in 1926.
Which is actually a masterpiece, by the way.
And you have Storm Over Asia after it in 1928. But Zarki's script for this middle chapter follows a completely unnamed country boy. Just a peasant.
An incredibly boring peasant.
He doesn't go to St. Petersburg because he has some grand, heroic destiny. Poverty completely drives him out of his village. He goes to the industrialized city because he is physically starving.
Right, the classic, heavy-handed Soviet setup.
And here is where it gets fascinating. He doesn't start as a revolutionary. He actually begins his political education as a strikebreaker.
Because he doesn't know any better.
Exactly. He betrays the workers because he is too naive to understand what a strike even is. It's a complex starting point for a state film.
Yes, and then he learns his very rigid, state-approved lesson. It's so predictable.
He goes through hell. After being manipulated into strikebreaking, he gets thrown into a miserable czarist prison.
Where he looks very sad.
And he gets conscripted. Suffers in the harrowing squalor of the First World War trenches, and finally, through all that trauma, he ends up storming the Winter Palace.
Yeah, checking off all the mandatory ideological boxes along the way.
It is a lucid, perfectly streamlined 7-part treatise on the evolution of the revolutionary spirit.
A treatise? Did you hear yourself just now? You are literally admitting it's an academic essay masquerading as a film.
I am saying it is spot on. Pudovkin aggressively strips away all the meaningless side plots. There is no shoehorned romantic subplot.
Because romance would distract from the tractors, presumably.
There are no little comedic digressions that bog down lesser films. He focuses purely on this brutal, singular journey, and he had an unmatched cast to do it.
Unmatched, really?
Yes. Alexander Shistyakov, Ivan Shuvalyev playing the boy, Vera Baranovskaya, these were heavyweights, proving the pedigree of this production. The sheer ruthless focus of it is magnificent.
Wait. You just listed the cast like that proves something, but did you actually watch the performances?
Of course I watched them. They're brilliant.
Because I did. And it is rather dull, precisely because of this supposed ruthless focus. The acting and the psychological depth completely took a backseat compared to Mother.
That's entirely intentional.
In Mother, you actually gave a damn about the protagonist. You understood her grief. Here, this country boy isn't a real person.
He's an archetype.
He is a cardboard cutout. He's a sketchy stand-in for millions. He has no distinct personality traits other than being hungry and oppressed. You cannot connect with a demographic statistic.
That's the entire point of the movement, though. You're trying to judge a 1927 Soviet avant-garde epic by the standards of a modern, navel-gazing Hollywood character study.
No, I'm judging it by the standard of wanting to be entertained or emotionally moved by cinema.
You have to understand what they were trying to invent here. The country boy is supposed to be a cog in a massive machine.
Well, congratulations to them. They made a film about a literal cog. Thrilling.
Soviet filmmakers at the time were actively rejecting the bourgeois idea of the individual hero. The film takes the drama of the individual and entirely replaces it with the drama of history.
Oh, bloody hell. The drama of history. That is the most pretentious excuse for bad character development I've ever heard.
It is not an excuse. It is a deliberate mechanism. Have you heard of typage?
Yes, I know what typage is.
Well, for you listening, this is a crucial concept. Soviet directors didn't always want trained theater actors who would emote and cry. They used typage.
Which basically means casting people off the street based on their cheekbones.
It means casting people whose actual physical faces represented their social class. They wanted the face of a peasant to look like 1,000 peasants.
And act like 1,000 pieces of wood.
It was a brilliant, completely necessary choice for what the era demanded. It was groundbreaking.
You cannot just wave away a profound lack of empathy by calling it history or typage. When the protagonist is just an empty vessel, a blank slate for state ideology, the audience checks out. It is boring.
They didn't check out. The visual execution was so viscerally powerful that it didn't need you to cry over one boy's personal diary entries.
It's viscerally powerful.
The boy is a litmus test for the Russian people. We experience the scale of the world through what happens to him, not what he thinks about it.
Okay, since you've predictably pivoted to the visual execution to save your crumbling argument about the script, let's talk about that.
It's not a crumbling argument, it's the core of the film's genius.
Let's talk about how ridiculously heavy-handed those visuals actually are. Because if the script is a bit dodgy, which it is, the visual symbolism is completely lacking in any kind of subtlety.
Lacking subtlety? Are you mad? Anatoly Golovnya's cinematography is legendary.
It's aggressive, is what it is.
You have to realize how they were shooting this.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier that they didn't have massive electrical grids. They are shooting in the mud. So what does Golovnya do?
He shines a massive light on a boot.
He composes these frames with striking, unusual simplicity. He uses massive reflectors to bounce harsh, natural sunlight. He highlights specific objects.
Yeah, a boot, a coin, a big heavy gear. Very subtle.
A piece of machinery against stark uniform backgrounds. It isolates the image, creating this immense generalizing effect.
It creates a headache, to be honest.
You aren't just looking at a factory. You are looking at the mechanical jaw of capitalism.
Uh-huh.
And then you combine that with the editing.
Ah, here we go, the editing.
Alexander Dovzhenko was assisting with the editing, and the physical cutting of the film is revolutionary.
Yes, let's talk about the editing, because this is where the film really goes off the rails for me.
Goes off the rails.
Mhm.
It is properly genius. Look at how Pudovkin and Dovzhenko deviate from the standard constructive montage.
You're throwing out jargon again. Explain what you mean by that.
Fine. For you listening, constructive montage was Pudovkin's bread and butter. Think of it like building a brick wall, shot by shot.
A very logical, slow brick wall.
You see a man looking off screen. Next shot, a bowl of soup. Next shot, the man smiles.
Mhm.
Your brain logically connects the bricks.
Man sees soup, man is hungry, man is happy, we get it.
Exactly. It builds a geographical and logical reality.
Yeah.
But in the end of St. Petersburg, they abandon that for a sharp collision of frames.
They don't just abandon it, they bludgeon you with it over the head.
They elevate it. Let's break down the most famous sequence The contrast between the First World War and the stock exchange.
The one that goes on for entirely too long.
They intercut the grim, muddy, harrowing squalor of soldiers dying in the trenches directly with the manic, sweaty panic of wealthy men on the St. Petersburg Stock Exchange.
Yes, repeatedly. Back and forth, over and over.
This is not constructive montage building a room. This is a visual algebraic equation. It is. Money plus mud equals blood.
It's incredibly heavy-handed.
By rapidly forcing your brain to process a dying soldier, then a screaming stockbroker, then an artillery shell, then a rising stock ticker, it creates a third idea in your mind.
A third idea that was already obvious after the first two cuts.
It physically and viscerally forces the audience to realize that the capitalists are directly profiting off the slaughter.
It's magnificent.
It's a bit overhyped. Overhyped. Did you not see the sheer kinetic energy of that sequence? It's breathtaking.
Yes, I saw it, and that's rubbish, mate. It's not genius, it's a sledgehammer.
It's powerful.
He's practically screaming at the audience through a megaphone, look, money equals blood. Do you get it? Do you get it yet?
Because it was a message the masses needed to hear.
There is absolutely zero room for the audience to think for themselves. It doesn't invite interpretation, it demands compliance.
That's completely missing the context of the era.
And because he is so obsessed with this visual algebra, the film suffers massively from narrative arrhythmia.
Narrative arrhythmia. You are making up medical conditions for a movie now.
I am talking about imperfect pacing, and you know it. It stops and starts. The narrative momentum completely stalls.
It doesn't stall, it builds pressure.
It stalls so the director can spend 5 minutes aggressively juxtaposing a banker with a cannon. And let's be totally honest about where Pudovkin is getting all these genius ideas of collision.
Oh, what are you implying now?
They are blatant Sergei Eisenstein ripoffs.
Oh, come on. That is incredibly unfair, and you know it.
No, hear me out. Eisenstein directed Battleship Potemkin 2 years earlier. He invented the montage of collision.
Pudovkin evolved it.
And Pudovkin just lifted it. The frequent use of these symbolic shortcuts, the ironic inserts. Look at the shot in this film where the Tsar's majestic monument is supposedly moved to tears by the rain.
That's a beautiful poetic shot.
Or when the vast, towering architectural buildings of St. Petersburg are shot from extreme low angles to show them overwhelmingly crushing the tiny, insignificant country boy.
Yes, to show the weight of the empire.
That is classic Eisenstein territory. Pudovkin is just borrowing his mate's homework and making it distinctly less subtle.
I have to stop you right there because attacking the pacing as imperfect or arrhythmic completely misses the emotional reality of what the film is trying to simulate.
It's simulating a headache.
That arrhythmia you're complaining about, that jagged, stalling, exploding rhythm, that is intentional.
Oh, of course. Every mistake is just intentional genius.
It's the chaotic heartbeat of a country tearing itself apart. Revolutions do not happen in neat, 3-act structures with perfectly metered Hollywood beats.
No, but films about them still need to be watchable.
They are violent. They are jagged. They stall in the mud, they simmer in the factories, and then they suddenly explode into the streets.
A very poetic defense of bad editing.
The physical collision of those frames is mimicking the collision of the social classes. Its brilliant form-matching function.
You are projecting a massive level of intentionality onto a film that was clearly just struggling under the weight of its own state-mandated ambition.
It's not projection, it's film history.
It's bloated. They had to make it epic because Stalin's government was watching, so they just threw everything at the wall to see what stuck.
Look, the research in cinema, the magic vehicle, is spot on here.
Oh, you're bringing the book into this. I knew it.
Yes, I am, because it absolutely dismantles your skepticism. I highly recommend it to you listening. Cinema, the Magic Vehicle, Journey 1, 1913 to 1950.
A very forgiving book, I might add.
The authors argue that Pudovkin was trying to build a completely new visual language. They call it a monumental achievement for a reason.
Naturally they do. It's canon for them.
He was fusing strict political mandates with incredibly risky avant-garde editing at a time when nobody else dared to take those risks.
I reckon the book is being way too kind to them, to be honest.
How can you say that? They lay out the exact methods.
You call it ambition, I call it a massive ego trip. Just because a director spends a fortune of state money to make a massive spectacle and makes everyone miserable on set doesn't automatically make him a genius.
It wasn't about his ego. It was about pushing the medium.
He was a proper narcissist with the camera. I think the book lets him off the hook because the end of St. Petersburg has been slapped with the untouchable label of a classic in film school curriculums.
Rubbish. It's not an ego trip. It's an evolution.
I'm just saying, I'm looking at it with a modern eye, and it's half brilliant and half nonsense.
The book defends him because it gives you the actual credits and the technical breakthroughs that changed how every film is made today.
The book defends him through a historical lens, which is fine for academics, but I'm sitting here thinking about the actual viewing experience.
You mocked my point about the lighting earlier, but think about it. Manipulating lighting in the absence of consistent electricity to create mood and shadow on a massive scale.
It's technically impressive, yes, but
The way they utilized non-actors in massive sweeping crowds to generate authentic panic instead of choreographed theater staging.
again, impressive logistics, poor storytelling.
When you see modern disaster movies with thousands of extras fleeing in terror, that template was forged right here. If you find the scale of it a bit of a slog, that's on you, not the history.
I'm not denying the technical hurdles they jumped over. Shooting in the freezing Russian mud is hard.
Exactly, thank you.
But I refuse to bow down to a piece of art just because it was physically difficult to make. I am reiterating that the narrative is bloated.
It is perfectly sized for the story it's telling.
Mate, cut 30 minutes out of that scene and we'd actually have a story. That self-indulgent stock exchange and trench sequence just goes on and on.
That sequence is the thematic core of the film.
You want to talk about scale being the great defender of this film? Fine. Let's look at the bloated climax of the whole thing.
You mean the historically accurate storming of the Winter Palace?
I mean the endless, impersonal assault on a building that feels completely disconnected from the country boy we were supposedly following for the last hour.
Disconnected. It is the culmination of everything.
It gets completely lost in the crowd. You barely even register him anymore.
The entire film has been building the pressure cooker, and this is the explosion. And if we are talking about scale, the Winter Palace finale is exactly what justifies the entire runtime.
So I'm sure you have a whole architectural thesis ready for this.
Do you even know the history of the building they were shooting in? Because to you listening, this isn't just a Hollywood set made of plywood.
I know it's big, it's green, and it has a lot of rooms.
It is a marvel. It is a physical manifestation of everything the revolution was fighting against. Built between 1754 and 1762.
Here we go, Wikipedia time.
Designed by the famed architect Bartolomeo Rastrelli. It is the absolute pinnacle of Rococo-style architecture.
Which means it's very gaudy and over the top.
For you listening, Rococo isn't just fancy. It is the extreme, overwhelming extravagance of ornamental design. Gold leaf, sweeping curves, illusionistic frescoes.
Yeah, we get it. It's posh.
Green and white, opulent beyond belief. Catherine the Great was its first occupant. We are talking about a structure with exactly 1,786 doors.
Are you reading from a real estate brochure now?
And 1,945 windows. I am setting the scene.
You're giving me a headache again.
Imagine being a peasant who's lived in a wooden shack with a dirt floor, and suddenly you are storming a building with nearly 2,000 ornate windows.
Yes, very dramatic.
Filming an assault on a building of this magnitude, coordinating the masses to swarm this literal stone symbol of centuries of imperial wealth.
Ooh.
It was mental in the best way possible.
So what?
It is epic cinema in its purest form.
I said, so what?
So what? How can you say so what to the storming of the Winter Palace?
Yes, so what? You just rattled off the number of doors and windows like a tour guide trying to justify the ticket price.
It proves the scale of what they achieved.
Just throwing a camera at 1,786 doors doesn't make a satisfying emotional climax if you still do not care about the collective hero.
You're supposed to feel the triumph of the working class.
But you don't. All those windows, all that green and white Rococo grandeur, it's just a massive empty backdrop.
It is the antagonist of the film.
In fact, there's a massive glaring irony here that Pudovkin completely missed in his little quest for scum.
And what irony is that exactly?
The irony of filming a supposedly grassroots communist revolution inside Catherine the Great's opulent playground.
That's exactly why they filmed it there.
All it actually does is highlight how small, insignificant, and replaceable the human characters are in Pudovkin's eyes. They are literally dwarfed by the architecture.
That is the whole point.
They look like ants swarming a wedding cake. You don't feel the triumph of the working class, you just feel the oppressive weight of the masonry.
But that juxtaposition is exactly the point.
I highly doubt he intended to make his heroes look like insignificant ants.
The sweeping scale of history requires that massive, impersonal backdrop. The building acts as a gilded cage that physically shrinks the actors, and that is entirely intentional.
Oh, sure, shrink your heroes to make a point about how great they are. Makes perfect sense.
You cannot show the end of an empire in a small, intimate room. You need the nearly 2,000 windows.
You really love those windows, don't you?
You need the physical, overwhelming manifestation of the Tsar's wealth to be swallowed whole by the sheer, unstoppable tide of the masses. The building itself is the antagonist.
Listen to yourself. If a building is your antagonist, you have failed at basic dramatic storytelling.
It's not basic drama, it's a revolutionary epic.
You can't punch a window and make the audience feel catharsis. It just doesn't work.
It is a visual symphony.
Yeah.
It's about the movement of the masses,
Yeah.
not individual catharsis.
It's a mess. It's an architectural documentary disguised as a narrative.
You know what? We are talking in absolute circles here. I can see you are not going to yield on this. You are determined to hate it.
I'm not yielding because I'm right. It's an overblown, mathematically cold, state-funded birthday party with a few neat camera tricks.
And I'm telling you, it is a pioneering masterpiece that laid the groundwork for the modern visual spectacle.
We're just going to have to violently disagree.
Look, to you listening right now, we've done 40 of these, so you know we are never, ever going to agree.
Not a chance in hell.
So if you want to see if my cynical friend here is just being a complete git, or if the history book actually has it right, buy the thing.
Exactly. The link for cinema, the magic vehicle, is right there in the description.
Do you actually have the spine to read the real history, dig into the mechanics of 1927 filmmaking, and decide for yourself?
Or are you staying lazy and letting us do all the shouting?
Your call entirely.
But while you're making that call, here is something provocative to chew on for a bit.
Oh, one last grenade, is it?
Think about this. If one of the greatest, most technically ambitious achievements in silent cinema was explicitly made to order by a state government under the threat of punishment for a political anniversary party,
Right.
does that mean true artistic innovation is born from pure, unbridled inspiration? Or is it actually born from massive, restrictive, terrifying constraints?
Wow. Let's see what you reckon. Catch you next time.